Dame Lillard, big game for him, 25 points, 6 assists. But for the Lakers, we know LeBron James didn't play. The second game that he's missed, now the Lakers are 0-2 without him in the lineup. However, Jimmy, you're not supposed to come out this flat. We know Anthony Davis exited the game. However, when you still have a Russell Westbrook, when you still have a Carmelo Anthony, you still have plenty of depth, this is not the performance that you expect.
It's not. Anthony Davis only 7 minutes. And we were talking about before the game, can Anthony Davis have one of those Anthony Davis games? Need to rely on him if they want to get this role win. He went out. But this is the area when you got a Russell Westbrook that you needed him to kind of fill in if LeBron wasn't in, or i.e. if Anthony Davis. But too many times we have seen this from Russ in regards to not valuing the basketball. Then it takes away possessions, empty possessions, where it halts any kind of momentum. And I don't know what's going on right now with Russ. I can't say what's going on in his head, but his play indicates that he's not as comfortable yet. 1 of 13, you got 6 turnovers. He's going to turn down that shot. Guys, Channing, are not going to guard him beyond the three-point line. And when he puts the pressure on right here, this is a shot that he normally finishes.
Right.
But here's the problem right here when he's turning the basketball over. I mean, the Lakers don't have a chance, in particular when you don't have a LeBron or AD in the lineup.
I'll say this.
What?
He needs to slow down a little bit. I know it's hard to say, but they don't have the same spacing as I think he's used to. So even if on that last turnover, he's driving, trying to get something, there's Dwight Howard right there. There's DeAndre Jordan right there. There's Anthony Davis down there. Like, he has to be different this year. And I think he has the capability of doing it. I think even that jump shot, he has to take the shot now so that later on in the season, he's gone through it. Yep. You can't mess with the game. If somebody plays you off like that, you can always work on it, right? You can always work on hitting that three. The pull-up jumper is his spot, especially from that little left-hand elbow. Yeah, I just think they were disengaged tonight. And so for me, I go like this. You crumple this game up because it was some garbage, and you just go on to the next one. But you have to think everyone's gunning for you. So if you don't have some type of anger, you're not seeing the anger from Russ. You're seeing kind of like a step back Russ. Even if even when Russ was down 20, he was still talking mess. I like that Russ. We need that Russ back. Take a second, get your spacing right, get people in the right situation so that you can be successful on the court. Because without you, this team can't win a chip. And without LeBron out there, you are the floor general.
And remember, last year we kind of saw something similar. I know he was injured with the Wizards, but early in the season, and they had some COVID issues, he was still trying to figure it out. And then later in the season, he started to mesh with Bradley Beal, and they figured it out, made it to the play and into the playoffs.
But I'll say this. They gave him the ball. Everyone pretty much got out his way. He went back to Russ and OKC. He can't do that on this team.
Different situation.
It's a very different situation.
But it's the same thing that happened in Houston. Remember, Russ started off a little bit slow. He gathered steam in the second half. James Harden kind of laid back a little bit. But to your point, It was Russ being Russ with the ball in his hands. His usage rate was up. So now he felt more comfortable. And it's going to be interesting because you can't do the same thing when you have an Anthony Davis and when you have a LeBron James. He can't dominate the ball like that.
Yeah, we saw the Houston Rockets go small and ship Clint Capella out. The Lakers ain't trading AD. They're not going to move guys around. Russ is going to have to figure it out. We hope that he does.
Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. I'm Chris McGee. I got James Worthy, Robert Horry. Allie Clifton's going to join in a little bit. Mike Trudell will handle the post-game duties from Portland. Lakers get blown out in the Northwest. 5-5 after 10 games. It's not what we all expected a month ago when we were going through those first 10 games. Kind of a recipe for disaster tonight, really, with no LeBron. AD only plays 7 minutes. And you got a Portland fan base and a Portland team ready to go. Only stat I'm going to give you is this, guys, to start the show. First and third quarters, 78-40, James and Rob. 78-40 Blazers. That's minus 38 in the first and third quarters.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're going to have to wait a while. I mean, this game was, it was Portland's game. Damian Lillard only scored, 4 points the last game out. You know he was going to come back and try to win at home. But, yeah, the Lakers they're not in sync on either end of the floor. There's no excuses, but we are missing players. Tucker's out, Nunn's out. LeBron, a major ingredient. Russ still fighting his way through situations. It doesn't look good. They shouldn't get outplayed the way they were outplayed. They shouldn't be getting out rebounded and things like that. But when you're not in sync, it starts to affect the mental capacity. And sometimes you're not ready. You think you are. You're going through the motions. They're in a tough spot right now without any continuity of players that they can depend on for 5 or 6 games straight so they can get some type of connection. They don't have it. And it's showing up in games against Oklahoma. It's showing up against young teams like Memphis. And it's showing up just about every game. So they got a lot of work to do. A lot of pressure on the coaching staff right now to try to, create some stability and get some players back on the floor and practice.
If you look at the way they came out very relaxed. Like, okay, Portland's been struggling, Damian Lillard's been struggling, and this is a team that you can attack and get a win, maybe. But it was the opposite. It's almost like Portland said, you know what, this Laker team is struggling. None of their players are shooting the ball exceptionally well, so we can go out and attack them. And Portland came out with a lot of energy. And the Lakers got to realize, even though their record doesn't show how good they could be, everybody's going to go at the Lakers just because they are the Lakers. They have LeBron James. They have Carmelo Anthony. They have all these future Hall of Famers on their team. And so they need to come out with some type of energy and some type of effort every night because people are going to come at them each and every night. Because I guarantee you, on their board, in the locker room, they're saying, this is our championship game. This is a team that's supposed to win the West. This is how we can, see how we stack up.
Yeah, you talk about matching energy, and you fall behind by 22 in the first quarter in the game, 34. And listen, there are nights when you get blown out in the NBA. We all know that. But it's a snowball effect, right? I mean, you see those 2 losses against OKC. You see the 3 losses against the playoff teams, at least that you consider playoff teams, in Golden State, Phoenix, and Trailblazers. So, like you said, James, there hasn't been too many positives, right? I mean, at 5-5 through the first 10 games, this is definitely a struggle. Tonight, it was all ends, but offensively never in a rhythm, right? When you just look at the way they shot. I mean, they finished at 34%, but that was well below 30 until those last few minutes. It was 23% from 3. It moved up to 28 because they got a couple of points at the end. I mean, James, with 2 minutes left, they only had 78 points. They ended up with a season-low 90. This
is a film you don't even want to look at because there's a million things that you could point out. It was just no continuity. I mean, when you're missing players, that's going to happen. But where's the fight? There's got to be some fight on the defensive end. Everybody can play defense and, try to affect the game that way. But I don't think they're there. I don't think they have any connection on defense right now.
There were some guys on that second unit that showed some fight.
Second unit?
Yeah, we're playing hard, but if you look at the plus-minus from the starting unit, it's not there tonight, big fella.
And that's where it has to start. It has to start with them. And the guys that come in behind that, they're there to sustain or try to pick up, and they did. They chipped away at it. I think they got it down to, 12. But they just could not sustain the defense toward the end of the half. Portland took it back up.
Let's talk Russ tonight. No starters in double figures. We mentioned AD only playing 7 minutes. Stomach ailment, so wasn't the thumb, is what we were told. 2 points, just 1 for 5. Russ, 1 for 13 tonight. The only make was a 3, actually, Rob.
I know. If you look at the
8 points,
when you watch Russ play, and when he's been on other teams, he go to the basket, and if he can get to the rim, it's a bucket. It's like now he's short arm and stuff. He's missing layups. I've never seen Russ miss this many layups. In the last 10 games, he probably missed more layups now than he ever has in his whole entire career. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Is he thinking too much? Is he worried about this guy, that guy? And it's been a lot of air balls, too. I'm like, what's going on? Maybe I hope he don't have the yips or something, but I think with Russ, I think he didn't have one game where he just tries to dunk everything. Because right now, the layups aren't working, the jump shot's not working. He need to either go into Rondo mode where he's reluctant to shoot or something. But hopefully Frank Vogel find a way to make the game easier for him, because we always want to make the game easier for the guys that aren't the superstars, because we figure the superstars can figure out. They can get theirs. But right now, I think Russ is struggling so much. You need to find some plays for him to make it easier for him, where he can get some buckets, get some easy jump shots, and not to make it so hard for him, because right now he is really struggling.
Yeah, when you think of this team offensively, let's just say, hopefully AD's playing, but with AD not there and LeBron not there, THT not there, none not there, those are 4 guys that create. So now it's coming down to who's left. Not many guys that can create that shot. I mean, Melo obviously has been great offensively for the Lakers, not tonight.
Yeah, you can't depend on Melo to be a creator or, put the ball on the floor too much. He's definitely capable. And Russ is the guy that can do it. But I think, it just seems like he's under a lot of pressure, more so than he was at Oklahoma, more so than he was at Houston, Washington. Coming to Los Angeles with LeBron out, he probably's thinking, I'm the guy that's got to do it. And I think he's pushing himself just a little bit too much. I do agree with Rob. They got to find something to make it easier for him. He's attacking at 1,000 miles an hour right into the teeth of the defense. And I think that's why he's missing layups, because when he gets to the rim, he's not really under control. But I think they need to look at some of his tapes when he was in Washington, Houston, and figure out where he can get the ball in position to make it easier, because he's taking it right into the teeth of the defense, trying to make really tight marginal passes that are tough. And he's trying really hard to fulfill his role. And I think Russ will find it, but right now he's forcing an issue, because I think he still has moments where he's trying to prove that he belongs here, and he's trying to lead, one big game, 30-something points, and then he tries to keep that trend going. But when you don't have all the missing pieces, it's difficult for him. But they need to find a way to make it easy for him, because we know what he can do when he's in that position.
Rob, you know the Lake Show podcast?
Yes.
Starring Allie Clifton and Mike Bresnahan.
Uh-huh.
You've been on it.
Yes.
There's a little segment we do of stats you like or you don't like, and you give one. So I'm going to give you a stat I don't like.
Okay.
So Dame had a rough night last night, 4 points. Stat I don't like, Dame, 25. Lakers starters, 24. Dame bounced back with 6 threes.
That's awful.
Yeah,
That's
25-24, Rob.
That's just bad. And when you have superstar players like that, and you know they just came off a 2-point night.
Yeah, 4 points.
4 points, I'm sorry. You should automatically, coach, every time he gets the rock, we double team him. We're going to keep him in that slump.
Yeah.
We're not going to be the team he comes out of this slump on. And a lot of times, people sit back and they want to say, okay, we're going to stick with our defense. This is what we do. Sometimes you got to break the norm. You got to go outside the box and say, okay, we're going to keep this guy down. And they didn't keep him down. You saw what Stu said. Oh, he's going left, bucket. And every time Stu said that, he went left, and it was a bucket. And you can't let that happen. It was no resistance. Every time he came over, it was just like he was in the gym by himself. And that goes back to the defense and not talking on defense, not understanding who you are. We always had the Jordan rules. We had the Iverson rule. We had the Kobe rules. There's certain players that have certain rules.
Yeah.
You need to follow them.
It is strange to have Dame only averaging 18 points per game, but you know where that's going. Big game, it's only going up.
Well,
he's one of the best scorers,
The thing you put on the board, the chalkboard before the game. This guy is not going to beat us, okay? You got other 4 guys out there. You're going to let them load up and get some points, but you're not going to let Damian do it. He just had a bad night. He's coming out to try to, do better, redeem himself. And so but no contact with him, too open.
Yeah.
Then, he'll destroy you if you let him do that.
Yeah, the previous few games, he was 5 for 27 from 3, so he got 6 of them tonight. So he bounced back.
Other teams probably had some intense defense. Our defense is
no
not
better
there yet.
motivation than playing the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, and as you know, you go in spurts where you have little droughts, but great players get out of them.
And when you are a Laker, you know that these teams are coming for you, and that's what used to get us up. They used to say, they know they're coming for our goal. Can't let them have our sugar, Rob.
Listen, we don't have a lot of fun up in Portland. In my lifetime, there's been some wins.
I've had a lot of fun.
You had your team was different.
They have a good piece of fish.
Historically,
they have a good piece of fish for a certain part of the year. It's a sturgeon.
Ooh.
It's really good.
Good game.
But no sunshine.
Raining all the time. Malik Monk led the Lakers with 13 points. He's standing by with Mike.
All right, Malik, obviously a tough game for the team overall. Just where did you see things start to get away in that first half?
The defensive end. We wasn't enough urgent, wasn't up on screens. Really didn't execute the game plan how we supposed to, and that's why they got away.
You know, unfortunately, a consistent theme that we've had to talk about is guys going out of the lineup. Yep. Tonight, 6 players not available. Portland has the full roster. You can't use it as an excuse, I know, but how do you try to find some continuity with the guys that are in and out of lineup like that?
Yeah, for sure. When we down like that, that's when we try to build the team chemistry and not play the wrong way. Keep trying to build trust in guys and just fill each other out. Because we still a brand new team. We still got to figure each other out, like I said, and it'll happen. It'll happen over time.
You know, there were some moments where Frank had you go into zone defenses, and it seemed like you did have some impact there. What are the keys to remember in those kind of situations when you haven't played like that a lot?
Yeah, for sure. It's still man principles in the zone. So you can't just lose your man. You can't relax like you do in the normal zone in high school and college. We're in the NBA, man. Every team we play is gonna have great players on the other end. And you can't treat them like they're not that. So we'll get better at it.
And then finally, Malika, you were able to start to get some looks, actually start to get some shots up. Are you able to form some rhythm or find some rhythm in the fourth quarter like that, even when the score might be getting away?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I tried to do, man. I know down the stretch I can help the team a lot. But like I said, we still a team. We still a new team. We still trying to learn each other. But yes, sir, tried to get my rhythm. Seen a couple shots go in. So I think I'll pick up off that.
Thanks for the time, Malik.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Hey, Mike.
You can always
helpful
find
Hunt.
Yep, and that we did. Back to Portland, Frank Vogel spoke with Mike Trudell in the media a few minutes ago.
Okay, Frank, we know AD had the stomach illness and wasn't able to come back. Was that something you were concerned about pre-game, and how did you think that evolved?
Yeah, he was battling the thumb, trying to figure if that was going to inhibit him from playing. And then, he woke up this afternoon with a bit of a stomach bug. Came back in and said the thumb felt pretty good, probably good enough to play, and he went and threw up in the back. Still wanted to give it a go, but by the time tip-off came around, he had already thrown up 4 times. And he wanted to try to, just see if getting out on the floor would change it, but wasn't able to go.
What did you see, especially once he went out, and the different kinds of defenses you were trying to throw out, and just the different personnel groups? What were you trying to get together?
Yeah, we're struggling to contain quick, deep shooting guards. With this year's personnel and the way we like to bring double teams. So we pulled back on it some, and those guys took advantage of it. I mean, before we pulled back on it, we weren't tough enough, with our low man and our rotations, and we weren't containing their guards in the trap well enough. So neither one was happening. We pulled back into our base coverage, and that's risky against shooters like Dame and CJ. And they got going a little bit, and at that point when we were down, we just tried to junk the game up.
Frank, obviously tonight Russ was 1 for 13, and you see the air balls and shots not going off the backboard, not hitting the rim. How do you evaluate his performance, not just tonight, but I mean generally the 10-game marker is a pretty good checkpoint. How tonight, especially, what have you got from him?
Yeah, he's shown flashes of being great for us. We all didn't have a good night. The whole team didn't have a good night, and we got to find ways as a coaching staff to help him and put him in position to succeed. And it's on all of us, to make sure that happens, make sure he gets comfortable and feels good, about the environment around him, and that's what we're working towards. We're all sticking together. We're all believing in the same thing, and we're going to get through nights like tonight.
Frank, you guys held them to 15 points in the second quarter, kind of got back into it, and I think it was 42 in the third. What was not occurring on the defensive end that needed to?
Well, like I said, we pulled back on our double teams because we weren't executing them well enough, like we haven't been the last few games. So we fell back into some of our base coverages, and Dame's been cold. Dame got hot. That's the biggest thing that sticks out. And obviously they go on a run. You try to junk the game up again and play a little more zone. And we weren't very good in the zone during that stretch either. So credit the Blazers for playing great.
Like, are you someone that evaluates your team over effectiveness after this 10-game stretch, and if so, when you see these first 10 games?
Yeah, I don't keep a 10-game marker. There's a constant evaluation going on all year, and every time this group is in front of us, we learn something more about what they can and can't do, and ways to put them in positions to succeed. That's what our coaching staff is focused on. And tonight we just didn't have enough, didn't play well enough.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
I guess I throw it to you guys with this. The injury bug has really hit this team early. There's nothing you can do about that. And it's not an excuse, but when you look at Ariza, THT, and none that haven't played, LeBron's missed 4 of the 10 games. They weren't basically without AD tonight. How do you stay on message? How do you not splinter, fracture, and just kind of right the ship and stay afloat until you get your guys?
I'd argue, just to kind of add to that, then Geeter, you looked at tonight in the stat sheet, and outside of those 7 minutes that Anthony Davis played, there was 10 of 11 guys who were not in a Laker uniform a year ago. And when you're talking about what you guys were preaching earlier about continuity and that lack of cohesion that's there right now, keeping the main thing, and that is that you have a lot of individuals that are coming together for the first time, trying to learn one another. And I think the one thing we all understand is that we want everything like yesterday, and we want it to happen right now. And there's a certain style and way in which you have to play to be a Los Angeles Laker. So there's that expectation. And so to look at this roster and trust that, yes, you are 10 games in. It's not what you expected, 5-5 at this point, but taking those variables and making sure that each and every day you're choosing an opportunity to get better, to work your habits. And no, this team, there were several players that said from day one at Media Day that it's not always going to be pretty. And they're going to have their lumps and they're going to have their ups and their downs. And fortunately, they're going through it right now with 72 games still to be played. And I think yesterday, Frank Vogel probably summed it up the best when speaking to the media about just what this team is going through right now. And that failure is a fertilizer for growth. And I'd argue that they can only go up from the position that they're in right now.
Yeah, good answer.
We're really critical here. At least I am, and I know Rob is too. And
well, I mean, it's Lakers, right? The fan base expect. Yeah.
Well, Allie's right. The effort could be better, but the continuity's not there. They haven't had enough time together. We talked about this early in the season. You're missing Tucker, Nunn. Those are huge misses. LeBron out. And so we're not making any excuses for them, but I'm going to say I'd give them to Christmas. That's my point of interest right there. Christmas, somewhere around there, when they get everybody back and they can figure out what combinations work. Right now they still have to, take care of some of the basics on the defensive end, but they're mentally not all there. And I think they know it when they go into these games, and that's why you see so much inconsistency because we know they can beat Memphis. We know they can beat Oklahoma. We know they can. So I just something's missing right now, and I'm going to give them a little bit more time to figure it out.
So do we know they can beat them?
I think, we can beat them, Rob. if we had full
really
capacity.
Know that 0-2 against OKC. You look at this team, and I think about the time that was wasted. And what I mean by that is the time that was wasted during preseason. Where guys was, it's just preseason. Dude, we haven't played together. Alex said it best, 10 or 11 guys haven't been in a Laker uniform. This is a time to get to know each other. This is a time where you don't mind losing. And I know it's the first 10 games of the season and we're 5-5, but I'm still looking at there's a lot to learn. And it was a golden opportunity missed in the preseason to learn each other. And we always talk about, there's no time to practice now. So how are you going to learn each other if there's no time to practice? You can say all you want, we look good in practice. Yeah, until you get punched in the mouth in the real game, and how do you react? And that's my whole thing that's been this whole season. It's too many guys on this team that haven't played together. You still got to learn each other. It's too many guys that doesn't know Vogel's system. I can understand if a lot of these guys play for Vogel on another team, so they know the system. They don't know the system. They don't know the defensive system. Like there's some points that I'm going to show later that, this should have happened or that should have happened. And That's what preseason is for, especially when you do not practice. That was a golden opportunity to try to learn each other.
And where we've seen it is on that defensive end. We saw it in the preseason. We talked a lot about it. We've seen it through these 10 games, that lack of connectivity, the mistakes at crucial times, not knowing the schemes and how each other play. And that's just something we've been used to as Laker fans and us for our job the last 2 years. That's where they've been their best.
And I'd argue that you can be a great team defensively without great individual defenders, as long as you are on the same page. 5-man on a string. The second, the third efforts are there. The communication is there. The trust. It's such a big word when it comes to the defensive side of the basketball, because you have to be able to look to your left and your right and know that that man is going to have your back. And I just don't think this team, you said it at the top of the show, is just in sync yet. And at that space where they have that trust to a position and a level and where it needs to be great, to be able to allow themselves to be in games when offensively it's not going the way they want it to.
All right, guys, after the break, more post-game reaction from the purple and gold. But first, a throwback duel between